Hello and welcome to another edition of The Week That Was, a weekly program where we review the news that made it to the headlines of the past week. This week we have January 11 to 17 in perspective. In this week that we are examining, we have some major stories including the criticality of the Mhadei diversion and the groundswell in favor of Mhadei, the double tracking invasion of private properties, and the DGP of Goa says no drug gangs or mafia operating in Goa. To discuss these and other stories, I have with me the group editor of Herald publication, Mr. Sujay Gupta.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, on 11th of January, that's Wednesday, we had this massive news regarding a Pillan Inferno which generates clouds of smoke and causes panic in North Goa. Now, in the Chief Minister's own words, this was one of the biggest fire disasters in recent history. And for 2-3 days this fire was on and there was a cloud of smoke which even reached the capital city. Now, it is said by from the firefighting fraternity that this major company was also warned in the past about such fire happening at the Kundai industrial estate. Now the question which arises in everybody's mind is were the required precautions and the required drills not done, and what is the impact of this on Goa?
See, the answer to this may not lie only with this specific company or case, because only investigations will reveal what was the exact cause, and it would also cover whether it was purely an accident or there was more to it than it being purely an accident. So that obviously has to be looked into, because there are some suspicions and aspersions being cast, because one must also take into account that this firm has apparently moved a lot of its operations to some other town or some other city.
Okay.
Notwithstanding all that, the specific case, one feels that firefighting, as far as firefighting is concerned in any place, including in Goa, it cannot be a responsibility only of the fire services department.
Yeah.
The responsibility, you see, it is a joint responsibility of various organizations and authorities to keep Goa safe from fire.
Yeah.
And it should start with the buildings department, the urban development department, departments that actually give permissions for buildings and the factories and boilers department.
Yeah.
And I do not think enough care is kind of taken to ensure that before any project is cleared or any building is cleared,
Yeah.
the strict adherence to fire safety needs to be not only visible, but it should be adhered to properly. So I think getting a fire clearance should be one of the toughest things that any project or any project proponent should look at.
Yeah.
Should be able to kind of fulfill to the satisfaction of all safety standards.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's being done. Secondly, I really feel that there should also be a very periodic, even a 6-monthly inspection, and there should be a fire audit being done and a fire audit report submitted by every establishment, every industrial establishment.
Yeah.
Because that also needs to be completely checked.
Yeah.
Then also most of these factories need to be sanitized, special anti-fire hazard equipment needs to be put in. All these things are very needed.
Yeah.
So I think all that needs to be checked out. Otherwise, these kind of incidents will keep on happening.
Yeah. So then we move on to the second story of this week, that is also dated January 11, and in this we pick up a case and a news item that had happened in the past, and Herald has reported and taken up this case, and that is the police assault on advocate Gajanan Sawant.
That's right. Yes.
And the headline reads, "Wounds from an assault by Porvorim cops haven't healed as the fight for justice goes on in the corridors of inquiry offices." Now this is basically, a prayer has been made to retired Justice RMS Khandeparkar
Yes.
to start monitoring the case before the charge sheet is filed.
Yes. So this incident has happened. Unfortunately, over a month and a half has elapsed after this, where this particular lawyer, who was basically in the residence of his client, who was in the middle of a dispute over that property, with interestingly a serving cop in the Goa police establishment. So the point here is that it was basically a property dispute where a serving Goa cop is involved, indirectly and directly. But for sure, this Goa cop and his wife, they are part of the whole property deal.
Yeah.
In the sense that the property has moved from them to the people they finally sold to, but now it has now emerged that that particular property is now was bought by this police officer through a fraudulent process and so on. We are not getting into that. What we are getting into is that if a lawyer has been brutally assaulted, allegedly by people in uniform or whoever the case may be,
Yeah.
that investigation should be fast tracked and at least a charge sheet should be filed.
Yeah.
But even before a charge sheet is filed, see, there's a very interesting nuance here. One, the victim feels that the police would try to hurry through the charge sheet so that the charge sheet is prepared in such a way that it is tilted in the favor of their own brethren in uniform,
Okay.
who is basically the main accused here.
Okay.
But what the victim wants and desires is that a commission that has been constituted to supervise this particular inquiry into this assault,
Yeah.
that commission should start functioning immediately, and that has not yet happened. So it is very important for this one-man commission to take into it, so that the commission can supervise the nature of the inquiry, so that the inquiry can be done properly.
Then on Thursday, January 12th, we have another story in the Herald. Double tracking invasion on Wellsound private properties as multiple angry pushback from locals. And this is basically the way in which this double tracking work is taking place.
Right.
That allegations from the residents along the track say that the RVNL officials are encroaching into their properties. And even this instance of this lady who wanted to build a wall in her property.
Yes.
The police were called in and she was told to stop the work.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah, Madam Barbosa.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this is something which has caused a lot of angst among the people of Wellsound, ROC and other areas.
See, in Wellsound and ROC, as we have also we have written about it and we've debated it as well. The issue is complex yet simple. The complex part is, why is the RVNL and the Southwestern Railways getting into areas which do not belong to them?
Yeah.
Because they already have acquired land for double tracking. The acquisition of that land itself is can be questioned, but fine, we'll leave it at that. But right now what they are doing is to ensure that the double tracking of railway tracks is proper. They are apparently building another wall on the other side of the track to raise levels so that the tracks are laid at a particular level and so on and so forth, at a particular height.
Yeah.
Now, the allied work that they are doing to complete the process of double tracking through the pristine villages of the Murmugao Taluka,
Yeah.
coastal belt there, they are willy-nilly encroaching into private land under the flawed premise that the land actually belongs to the railways.
Yeah.
The reason why I say flawed premise is because so far the railways has failed to produce any documentation to show any semblance of ownership of the lands where they are actually digging and dumping debris and expanding
Yeah.
to carry out the allied activity to support the railway tracking.
Yeah.
So obviously people's anger is completely huge and palpable, and it was very shocking that one of the women, I'm forgetting her first name, I think it's Shalini Barbosa, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Shalini
Yes.
Barbosa.
So Shalini Barbosa is one of the kind of affected parties here, where her the allied work is going on right inside her property.
Yeah.
So she decided to build a wall there in front of her own property and to basically protect herself from this encroachment, as it were.
Yeah.
But those trucks were again stopped. She was, according to her, threatened and so on and so forth. So this is just yet another flashpoint between the people and the government when it should not be. When the government, instead of being empathetic to the people, seems to be a arm of the railways and the SW railways to carry out this work by hook or crook.
Yeah.
And that's actually a slap on democracy.
So then this story also continues on January 14th. So because of the ruckus that took place on that day, the Deputy Collector Mormugao had fixed an inspection on 13th of January.
Right.
So on that day, hundreds of people arrived for double tracking site inspection at Welsau. And Mormugaon deputy collector, who had fixed the inspection himself, decided to play truant. The RVNL officials were not there. And the local MLA, who was supposed to be present, being a representative of the people and taking up cudgels on behalf of the people, was also absent.
Yeah, so what you said basically sums up the situation exactly what it is. So my only reaction to this is that we reported a shocking but not surprising anymore reality of what is going on there. Now this inspection was also not done out of any goodwill. It was done basically because the villagers showed so much of resilience and anger, and all the villagers said that you come and inspect and see for yourselves what we are saying. If we are saying that even the St. Lawrence Chapel in ROC has been encroached upon, other private properties have been encroached upon, they only insisted and invited the deputy collector to come and see for themselves, so that they understand what they should have understood anyway, to basically align with the people and understand what they're trying to say. Now this inspection was fixed by the deputy collector in response to that. The very fact that he does not even turn up for an inspection of his own inspection, it's like saying that the bridegroom doesn't turn up for his own wedding. So this is exactly how ironical the situation is.
Yeah.
So now there is nothing more to be said. It's so utterly shocking that these facts itself tell the story.
Now, looking at the way this project is ongoing and the face-off takes place from time to time. Now, looking at the fact that the Welsau Sarpanch also put her cards on the table and said that Panchayat will continue to support the people and will fight to protect the village, and the attitude of the railways on this project. I mean, is it the fact that the railways consider themselves to be working in national interest, and therefore they can ride roughshod over the people as they do in other parts of the country? I think this is not this is not, because in the past they have also even called Goans as black Portuguese.
See, the thing is, the railways, by and large, it has had a very splendid history as far as our country is concerned. They played a very, very big part in one of the institutions that have actually built India overall.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, even if we take the current issue out of hand, but by and large, I think the railways have played a beautiful role in bringing this country together, reaching out to the large. But albeit, a lot of this was a legacy of the British. If there's one thing that the British did very well, it's the railways.
Yeah.
What has now happened here is that the railways, unfortunately, and that's what people strongly feel, and there's no reason to feel that they're wrong, are being used as an arm of the ruling dispensation to carry out projects for the benefit of private players. This is where the problem lies.
Okay.
All this is happening because of this. If this was a public interest project for the movement of passenger trains for the people to travel, there would have been far greater sensitivity into this whole issue.
Absolutely.
This thing of the desperation on the part of the authorities, whether it's the government or the railways or wherever, to remove all obstacles, even genuine obstacles, all obstacles from the way, including people's objections, stems from the fact that getting this project through is all important sans any impediments, whether legal or illegal.
Yeah.
Now it is that is the attitude which has come upon. So I wouldn't actually blame the railways as an institution for it, but I would say that the way the dispensation works sometimes, and this is again what people feel, we can only reflect what people feel.
Yeah.
All along in this whole double tracking movement, the one underlying cry that has come from the people is that this double tracking is being done not for public interest, but for the private interests of industrialists who want to use Goa as a conduit for transport of coal.
And that's very sad.
And that is where the problem is. Yes.
Okay, then our fourth story takes us to January 15th, Sunday. And this is again a banner headline in the Herald. And this quotes the DGP, the Goa DGP, "No drug gangs and mafia in Goa," says Goa's top cop. Now, Herald has pointed out that although the DGP says that Goa is a consumption center, we have seen over a period of time that the value of seized international drugs has gone up 3 times.
Correct. I still do not understand what came about, on the respected Director General of Police for him to make a statement like that, because one felt that the statement was devoid of fact and reality. He essentially said that Goa is a place where people come to enjoy, and the drugs that they consume are recreational drugs of a small quantity. This flies in the face of anybody who's been either reporting or following the drug issue in Goa.
Yeah.
Because if you see not just the seizures, but the quality and quantity of the substances that have been seized,
Yeah.
and the substances that are being seized are like cocaine and MLD and meth and so on and so forth. Now these are serious substances. They are not recreational. This is not weed. This is not charas or ganja or whatever,
Yeah.
which people smoke to calm themselves down at parties or whatever. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I'm distinguishing between those kind of drugs and the actual hard drugs. And the ANC or the NCB and others will tell you of the kind of drugs that have been seized and the total amounts that have been seized. That itself proves that the drugs being consumed here are not just recreational.
Yeah.
Secondly, then the second question is, if they are recreational, even if they are recreational, they are being sold by people to the tourists. If only tourists are coming to consume, then either the tourists are carrying the drugs from other places and coming by plane and train. If that is the case, that leads to another question and a problem. Why are you not catching them?
He has suggested that.
What?
That the tourists are coming here and they are bringing drugs along.
Correct. So then that speaks volumes of the inefficiency of either the police system in the airports or the CISF and people who are there.
Yeah.
That means, every time a tourist comes in, the tourist carries drugs and consumes the drugs and goes away.
Yeah.
So that again can be completely challenged, or that gives rise to another very serious question. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, the quantity and the quality of the kind of substances and drugs that have been seized no way can be bought and moved in just by tourists coming in.
Yeah.
And also, these are serious substances, and your own narcotics team has caught people with stuff like this, with MLD and meth and LSD and cocaine. These are not drugs that come in just like this. Thirdly, there have been 2 or 3 instances when major international drug mules have been caught in Goa with substances all in their bodies.
Yeah.
And they were headed towards Goa.
Yeah.
One lady from Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, was supposed to come to Goa to pick up, to deliver and pick up cash.
Yeah.
So how can the DGP say this when we have instances of major international drug mules coming with large amounts of drugs to park in Goa?
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean a thing. And as we on the same day did a piece also, that the Hyderabad Narcotics Enforcement Wing has completely exposed the Goa drug trade, the drug business, the kind of drugs that are being bought and sold, and the entire drug lobby and its suppliers. And they have actually arrested 3 people from the nightlife industry in Goa, who were known as hoteliers and restaurateurs and club owners, who are all behind bars now.
Yeah.
So the linkage, and this is not just, these are not drugs that are used for, by tourists to have a good time.
Yeah.
So there is so much, there's a pile and piles of facts and evidences that totally, unfortunately, prove the DGP not just wrong, but unfortunately a little naive. We just hope, with absolute respect to the position that he holds, that he was just asked in a spur of the moment by certain journalists.
And his response was...
And maybe he responded he responded at that particular moment without perhaps applying too much of mind to the whole situation.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, let's leave it at that, and maybe that was it. And the DGP will be very good if he clarifies and says, no, that was not the full picture. Maybe, it was just said at the spur of the moment. But it is more nuanced than that.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have the major story of the week is with regard to this criticality of the Mhadei diversion, which has taken Goa by storm, and the entire, the political class, the people, and the NGOs and civil society is all grappling with this issue. And the first part of this story has to do with the Wednesday, January 11th edition itself. And there Herald has pointed out that a Goa delegation heads to Delhi to dam public discontent on Mhadei. Now, politically it appears that the odds are stacked against Goa. And it is said by, it's claimed by the government and by the Chief Minister that they have petitioned the Home Minister in order to withdraw the permission granted by the CWC to the DPR submitted by Karnataka. They have also asked for a Mhadei Water Management Authority. And apart from legal intervention, these are the two things that they have said. Now, how do you look at this visit vis-a-vis the power equations, because the BJP government is overwhelming at the center and Goa is also BJP government and Karnataka also has a BJP.
See, I think this visit to Delhi to speak to the Home Minister. Initially, they wanted to speak to the Prime Minister, and he obviously was busy and didn't give time and all that. See, I feel that it's like locking the stables after the horses have bolted.
Yeah.
Goa really is trying to kind of lock an empty stable. There are no horses in the stable.
Okay.
The horses have bolted the moment Karnataka the Central Water Commission allowed the diversion of water purportedly for the drinking water needs of Dharwad mainly. We all know for sure that this diversion is not for drinking water at all. It is mainly for irrigation. Because there are enough water sources in Karnataka to tap on to get drinking water for those regions.
Yeah.
This is mainly for irrigation and secondly for construction, because construction of these canals in Karnataka also involves a lot of money, and one cannot forget that. But it is also a one-upmanship battle that Karnataka has fought and won. One must remember Karnataka has, if I'm not mistaken, 28 MPs. 28 MPs.
Yes.
Now, with those 28 MPs, the 28 MPs are a far bigger bloc in Parliament than our 2 MPs here.
Yeah.
The centre would obviously like to keep Karnataka happier than Goa. Goa, the way that centre plays with these states, their own states, it's important to keep Karnataka happy. At the same time, it is good to manage Goa. Yeah. So what they are doing is they are keeping Karnataka happy and they are managing Goa. Yeah. They are managing Goa by giving an audience to a delegation that comes. They are managing Goa by the Water Resources Minister, Union Water Resources Minister Gajanan Shekhawat to give a patient hearing to our Chief Minister and said that we have Goa's interest in mind.
And solution will evolve.
A solution will work. There is no clarity on what the solution is, because from what we know from the experts who spoke to us, is the solution will not emerge from the centre withdrawing or the CWC withdrawing the DPR, because the DPR has been issued. It stems from a decision of the tribunal. What can now happen is that for Goa to approach the Supreme Court and not go to the Prime Minister's court and tell them that the tribunal very clearly said that diversion can be allowed to Karnataka only after a lot of conditions are fulfilled, and they are environmental conditions. Those environmental conditions were never fulfilled, prior to this DPR being permitted. So it is a contempt of the conditional approval given by the tribunal. And I think the battle lies there. You need to fight this legally.
Yeah.
The lip service, going and coming, because I honestly feel, and it's a charge that one is making, but I won't say it's unsubstantiated. One really doubts whether everybody, even in the cabinet, is 100% aware of every nuance of the Mhadei issue.
Yeah.
Which is why it took an expert and who's a veteran on the Mhadei issue, environmentalist Rajan Kekar, to state in the public meeting that I'm happy that politicians are coming back to support it.
Yeah.
But I would be happier if everybody went back and studied what the issue is, what the diversion is, what are the options available to the government of Goa at this point of time, rather than making demands without understanding what the ground realities are.
Yeah. Okay, and that is Tuesday, 17th of January. You have this groundswell of people coming out of their comfort zones and
Yes.
attending this rally, which was a huge rally,
Yes.
and over 10,000 Goans congregated at a place called Virdi after permission was denied to have it in
Yes.
the Sakli Municipal Council
Yes.
jurisdiction.
Correct.
So Mhadei gets mother of all support on Asmita this.
Yes.
More importantly, also a small comment would be in order with regard to Rajan Kerkar focusing on this idea
That's right.
that it's not only Mhadei but every river is in danger in Goa, and that is
Couple of points. Yes. Sorry to cut you. No, couple of points about the rally. See, I feel that this reminds me of say 2 or 3 major agitations. One, I would say, if I'm not mistaken, July 2007 or 2008, when there was a massive Goa Bachao Abhiyan rally at Azad Maidan,
Yeah.
which effectively kind of changed the whole narrative, which led to the scrapping of the 2011 regional plan.
Yeah.
Okay, and I remember one very interesting picture. When the rally was going on, you had the leader of the opposition, Manohar Parrikar, then, and a few other BJP leaders coming and standing behind Azad Maidan watching that rally as a show of support, and people noticed them there.
Yeah.
Okay, because even he understood that, look, this is very historic.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have certain images that always stick to the minds of the people. If you recall, there was an iconic image of Oscar Ribello with his fists clenched.
Yeah.
That has become one of the most most displayed and the most evocative images of a people's movement.
Yeah.
Of course, that didn't happen. It didn't go the way it should have. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Here again, there are many images coming from the rally. 2 things that come to mind. One is the sheer size of the crowd.
Yeah.
And now the technology has improved, so we got beautiful drone pictures to show the extent of the crowd there.
Yeah.
That image is very, very sharp in people's minds. Secondly, the kind of people who landed up.
Yeah.
This is far bigger than any political rally held in Goa in the recent past.
Yeah.
Easily.
Very
Okay. Spontaneous. The kind of people who spoke. People from all walks of life. Experts, teachers, writers, authors, Sahitya Academy winners.
Yeah.
All these people. These are very important things. So this shows that on matters like this, there is a very strong people's movement, and Goa should be proud that Goa is perhaps, I would stick my neck out and say, perhaps the only state in this entire country where something like this can happen.
Yeah.
And I think this is a bigger takeaway than even Mhadei.
Okay. So then, the small comment that would be in order with regard to
Yes.
not only Mhadei being in danger,
Absolutely.
but every
Yeah, I'll make a
river.
short point because we run out of time.
Yeah.
Rajan Kerkar very clearly said that when Mhadei gets diverted, when the Mhadei waters get diverted, it is not just the Mhadei, but all other rivers that are going to be affected. People must understand, this is common sense. Because do understand that we have the Mhadei and we have the Zuari. They all flow into an estuary and then it goes on to the sea. They ultimately come from the same water source.
Yeah.
So my point is the water does not distinguish between whether it is a Mhadei water or a Zuari water. Water is water.
Yeah.
So if the salinity of the water increases, it's going to affect both the Zuari and the fish floating in the water does not say I'm a Mhadei fish and I'm a Zuari fish. So it will impact everybody.
Okay. So on that note of caution, with regard to the fight for water, which will be a thing which will happen more and more in the future between states, between countries, we appeal to our policy owners not to politicize this issue and to solve this issue, especially in the larger interests of Goa and the future generations. So with this, we wind up this week's the week that was. We hope that you enjoy this program every week. I thank my guest, Mr. Sujay Gupta, Group Editor of Herald Publications, for being on this show, for his insights and analysis. Thank you for watching Herald TV.